Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes recap for Rick and Morty Season 3, Episode 9. This one's called The ABCs of Beth. And we're on a Rick and Beth episode this week, where we kick things off with Rick and Beth getting rid of the kids, sending them off to custody with their dad. Haven't seen a lot of Jerry this season. I know we had our Rick and Jerry episode, and he's been in sort of cameo bits for a lot of stuff, but it's interesting to me how fully they followed through on the idea of him being out of their life and not like just sticking him in the show wherever just because he's a character that people know. Well, I see a lot of other TV shows where it's like, well, we've got our main cast and these are the people here. And Jerry's, when he's got out of their lives, like, he's a lot out of the show. And I think that's interesting. And Beth starts off by watching television and seeing a report about this guy who had eaten his son. And she tells Morty before he's kicked off that she knew this guy when she was a kid, and that she had made up this elaborate story in her mind about how she went to Florpazorp land or whatever it was. I don't remember. And like he had gotten lost there and done this to cover up for the horribleness of the fact that his dad ate him, at which point Rick intervenes and says, yeah, that's actually what happened. That's actually what happened, Beth. He's in Florpazorp land or whatever. One of my favorite bits in this episode was Rick just getting super mad that she thought like that the name was dumb, and he draws a door in the wall with a holographic piece of chalk and creates like a real door that goes through to this other dimension / matrix thing that he had created for Beth as a child. And there's just this whole like child-proof world that he's made for her. And where they left behind this little boy, presumably just because they forgot or something, or Rick just doesn't care. And now he's been in this world and has grown up in this world for his whole life. Everything in this episode is messed up. There are so many messed up things in this episode. And just the premise alone that there's this wonderful, like, super safe kid environment that someone just got forgotten in, that neither Beth nor Rick are invested enough in other people that they thought to go back and check on this dude. Because Beth had some kind of memory of it and just apparently just believed it when the news said that his dad ate him and blocked it out, or didn't like him, as we find out later in the episode, and felt like that he deserved what he got. And Rick must have known on some level that this kid was in there, or at the very least that he didn't care enough to check. So there's that level of messed up. There's also the level of messed up that Rick made this world for his daughter to hang out in, not because he didn't want to, like, hang out with her, not as a distraction, right? Not like when I give my kid a tablet and tell him to sit on the couch and watch TV and play the tablet at the same time because I'm a great parent, but that he was actually afraid of what she might do. That he saw in her himself, that he saw the sort of nihilism and the borderline psychopathy, and in a child, that was even more terrifying to him than it was as for him an adult to be like that. And that's super messed up. And then what happened to the kid inside the bouncy world is super messed up, because he starts humping everything. He just humps all the things. All the things get humped by this kid. And we find out this, like, just in a random exposition dump of dialogue, which I thought was a brilliant way of handling the way that this reveal goes, because and they keep trying to do the big bum 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 reveal, and Beth and Rick are like, we're there already, we get it, we know, but you only have so much time, and I think that this was a clever way to handle it. But then, like, so there's a reveal that he's been in this world and has had sex with the animals in the world, and after having sex with those animals, he then ate their offspring and kept some of them as friends. And you think that's bad, right? You think, okay, that's super messed up. But it's even more messed up when they go to his castle and find him, like, practically naked with all of these weird Muppet creatures around him that are his offspring / food, potentially. And he has them perform a play where one of the children Muppet creature things acts out his early days in the world. Where revelation, Beth pushed him into some honey and left him there. And B, we get to see a child alien monster thing humping rocks and humping trees and humping the animals of this world, which creates food for him that he eats. There's no part of this that I'm comfortable with. Not one. Not one single part of this is comfortable for me. Yeah. But there's the whole, to think about the fact that this kid is so hump obsessed makes me wonder what was going on with his life before he met Beth. Is this part of the reason that Beth pushed him into the honey? Or, I mean, did he on some level deserve this? He clearly ends up really messed up now, and Beth tries to go back and fix the problem. She thinks, okay, this is all my fault. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do right. And she gets all these toys that she had her dad make for her when she was a child, like a ray gun and a sentient switchblade, and goes back and tries to save this guy from the world that she's created for him, and he's not interested. She essentially comes back all covered in blood and says, okay, yeah, let's just put a band-aid on it and make a clone. And they end up saving the guy who supposedly ate his son from being electrocuted. But then so that introduces a plot point here where Beth has this realization, because she can't bring herself to apologize to this kid. You know, she's been having this sort of angry fight with her dad about how he treated her. And now she's talking with this guy about, you know, her pushing him into the honey and leaving him to this crazy, insane life. And she cannot, for the life of her, apologize. She cannot form the words, "I'm sorry," to this guy. And she realizes at that moment that she is, on some level, her dad. That she has all of that stuff in her that he has. And it's an interesting moment. She goes back to Rick, and he has this whole speech for her about, it's a typical Rick speech. She says, "Am I evil?" And there's a whole theme going through this episode about evil and good and bad that gets echoed in the Jerry subplot, where Rick's answer to her is, no, you're not evil, you're just smart. And gives her all of this justification about how nothing in the universe matters and how it's all just kind of... I don't know exactly how to put it in Rick's mind, because I don't feel this way, like, at all. So even repeating back his thoughts is a little bit tricky for me. But the essence is, it doesn't, like, the universe is a cruel mistress, and it rides us, and only the smartest of us get to hop on and ride the universe, but it's always trying to buck us off. That's the essence. And it's this super egotistical, like, look, it doesn't matter what you do because the universe is cold and unfeeling anyway, so might as well have fun with it, kind of Rick moment. Rick is the kind of person who would say this, and I think a lot of the viewers of Rick and Morty would get on board with this idea that, yeah, we're us smart people like Rick. We're not evil, we're just smart. But I think maybe the real answer is, yeah, you're evil. Like in the common, everyday, scary way that evil is a thing in the world. Where it's about ego and pride and, you know, not being able to admit your mistakes. Those things, in fact, do lead to evil. And you're not willing to admit it. You want to just keep papering over, and Rick just wants to keep papering over. And he even gives Beth an out here, where he says, "Listen," I think Beth actually asks, like, "Well, go ahead and can you make me this clone person? Can you let me free from this life, because she sees that she wants to be like Rick. She wants to have this selfish, for lack of a better word, chance to go off on adventures and do her own thing and have fun throughout the universe. And Rick says, listen, I can make you a perfect identical copy that no one will be able to tell the difference between. It has all your memories and won't have any problems. And we don't get to see what she decides. And I think, I look at Rick Sanchez, and I thought about this morning, thinking about his nihilism and how he thinks nothing in the universe matters. And that's an interesting philosophical argument to have. I don't agree with it even in the real universe, but I thought of it today, and I realized Rick does live in a universe that has a God. Rick does live in a universe that has purpose, because he has a writer. There is literally someone. Everything that Rick Sanchez does matter. Everything that happens to him literally happens for a reason. And I think that that's an interesting, it's something that I've never heard talked about in the universe of Rick and Morty before. People just want to get on board with like, yeah, I hate life. I'm a nihilist too. Good. All this stuff about life having meaning, Rick's right. It's all stupid. But Rick's wrong. Rick's provably wrong. Because all of the stuff that happens to him, we know for a fact as viewers of a television show does happen for a reason. Someone did orchestrate that. That fascinates me. And that's maybe among the reasons why I think Rick is not somebody I agree with most of the time. Our B plot is, of course, Morty and Beth and Jerry all hanging out at Jerry's place, and Jerry has a new girlfriend, and she's an alien, and she has 3 boobs, because this is, Rick and Morty. And he got on some intergalactic dating site, got himself a rebound. She's quickly becomes clear that she's a lot to handle. She's bringing a lot of baggage to this relationship. She's just constantly hunting down these other things. I forget what they're called, but she's sort of a Predator on Earth style thing, but like hunting down these other creatures. And Jerry, of course, claims that he's all cool with it, but eventually he tires of her needing to hunt these things down all the time, and he wants to get rid of her and cannot bring himself to break up with her. So he tells a lie and says that it's the kids' fault that they want to break up with her, that they're the ones that feel like that she's weird. And it was him all along. And again, we come to this question as he's talking to the kids about, his decision here and what he's done. Am I evil? Am I the bad guy here? And again, he gets kind of some platitudes and made to feel better. But I would argue, again, yes, you're evil. The fact that your selfishness and your insecurities are pushing you into all of this stuff is the essence of human evil. It's not like some unthinkable black demonic thing that's sitting on your shoulders, like forcing you to kill people. Like 99.99% of human evil is just construed out of ego and selfishness and the inability to admit that you were wrong. And that's what I take out of this episode. All these characters are evil. They're all bad people. Every single one of them. It doesn't mean that they're not human. It doesn't mean that they're not also good on some level. But they are evil. That's what I think. And that's what I thought about this episode. I thought it was a good one. It did not leave me particularly hyped or anything, but it was an episode that I felt was very honest in a way. That the characters weren't honest, but watching this, I felt like that this was the most naked that Rick and Morty has ever been about how their characters are and what their shortcomings are. And as a whole, right? Like, especially all the adults here are super at fault, and none of them are able to admit it. And I think we see that in this episode. At least I saw it more clearly than maybe I have in any of the other ones. and I liked it a lot. I thought that it was an interesting character study. There's a lot of humor in there, and as always, the really cool sci-fi concepts. I thought that the chalk drawing the door reminded me of Neverwhere. There's probably some other stories where that's a thing as well, but 2 episodes in a row now with Neil Gaiman references in them. First you got Sandman and the Morty's Mind Blowers, and now we have this thing with the chalk door. I can say words. Can you say words? You can't say words. I can say words. And next week we have I don't know what. A lot of people are saying maybe this is misdirection. It is the season finale next week, so wrapping things up. I don't know how much story we're going to get. It seems like we need to get a return of Evil Morty at some point, at least to see that he's doing something behind the scenes close to the end of this episode, but I literally have no idea how this is going to play out. But I'm excited to see what they do. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, click that like button, leave a comment if you have other thoughts or you think I'm way off base with something. I really do enjoy sort of hearing you guys say what you thought, and if argument's fun. So, drop a line, and I will see you guys next week with the season finale of the Rick and Morty recap. Take care, guys.